Hello and welcome to the channel, and today we're going to be fixing a leaking tap. So this is a monoblock mixer tap, and you can probably see there I've got a very slight drip, the dreaded drip. So if it's dripping from the spout like this one, it's more likely to be one or two of the valves or cartridges, depending on what tap you've got. So this is a monoblock mixer kitchen tap. So options, we can either try and change the valves, or the cartridges, or just change the entire tap. So we're going to opt for the cartridges because we're suspecting it's the cold cartridge. Yeah, so this is pretty much the equipment you'll need. Something to measure with, screwdriver, Allen keys, spanners or grips, and obviously the valve or cartridge itself. Right, so as we all know, before we start playing around with water, we should always turn the water off by either at the stopcock or at isolation valves if you've got those. So how do we know which cartridge it is? We can try switching each isolation valve off and check for drips. In the UK normally the cold's on the right, hot's on the left as a general rule. Now if you've got a mains fed system, if you turn the cold off, it'll turn the hot off as well, so it's better off if we do it the other way around. If you turn the hot off and check, see if it still drips, we know which one it is. So if it still drips and the hot's off, it's clearly the cold tap. Right, bear with us on this. I'll just show you how we're going to isolate the cold, so hopefully you can see this bit here. That's what we call the isolation valve. All I'm going to do, you can see it's horizontal, all I'm going to do is turn it so it's vertical, like that, and that should turn the water off. So let's give that a quick test. There we go, it's off. So now it's time to take the handle off. This is where your tap might be different, you might need to investigate, but on our monoblock, if we pull this across, there should be a hole at the back where we can get one of our Allen keys in. I'll show you this. So if I pull that down and go to the back, you should be able to see that there. Should have mentioned that these are Allen keys and I've got the number 2 one here for our tap. Yours might be a bit different. Right, so just going to untighten this. Now this is going anti-clockwise, so I'm just turning it anti-clockwise. See that there? And as you can see it's protruding, should just be able to pull that off now. It's worth putting the plug in case anything falls in. So we should have this here, you can see. So you take your spanner or your grips, or whatever you're using, you have to work out what size these are. I've got a 17 here. And then we're just going to crack that and make sure we don't put too much pressure on the tap. There we go. So it's quite tight that. Now we should be able to take that off, so a little bit of water will probably come out, so let's get going with that then so you can see it. So I'm just going to take that out. And there's the blue one. So we can check it for any obvious signs of damage, but we're going to replace this, so I'll show you how we find the right one. So we will have to take this off, that'll become apparent in a minute, so I'll just do that now. Just find the right attachment. There we go. Quick tip, before you go ordering a new cartridge, sometimes it's worth giving the cartridge a good clean, and also the hole a good clean as well, clean any debris out, and making sure we retighten it and try it before we order a new cartridge. Sometimes that's enough to get us another 6 months out of the cartridge, so or sometimes it comes loose and that's what the problem is. So before you ordering one, try that first. If you know the make and model of your tap and the website gives you the specifications for the cartridge, then that's great. But in most cases we don't have that sort of information, so we have to find out which cartridge we need, and arguably this is the hardest bit of the entire task. So if you need to find out the dimensions of your cartridge, stick around for the end and I'll put that process in the end, but for now I'll show you me replacing the cartridge. So we've managed to get ourselves a new cartridge. All I'm going to do is repeat the process in reverse. So we're going to place it in, and then we're going to take our spanner, I'm going to tighten that again, tighten that up, and all that. Just want Watching we don't put too much pressure on the tap. Next up, this goes back on. We need the screwdriver for that bit, so let's just breathe that out. So, back on, making sure that this is on as well. Place that over. You usually have to get it into position. There we go. We can turn that, and then we can get our Allen key and we can just tighten that up. Same process, just in reverse as the way in which we took it off. There we go. Alright, so just turn the water back on the isolation valve. It's hot. There's the towels. And we'll keep an eye on it for drips. Right, so it's been a couple of hours, no drips anymore, not even when the washing machine's on, so jobs are good. Now you might think it'd be as easy as going onto your local DIY store like Screwfix, finding one of these valves and buying one and replacing it, but it's not quite as simple as that, so we'll show you that now. So we're going to go full on geek mode now, but I think it's needed just so you can see the process. What you need to determine is what type of valve it is. So put the two most common types up here: compression wash tap valve and a ceramic disc tap valve. So you can see that we've got the ceramic disc type valve. Next up is to determine the valve size. Usually we measure it via the thread size. You can see the arrow pointing towards where we measure from. Unfortunately, this is where it gets confusing because British Standard Pipe won't actually measure the same on a ruler, which is what we'll be using. So the ½ inch or 3/4 inch is typical, but the ½ inch on a ruler will measure around about 21 mil, whereas the 3/4 inch will measure 26 mil. I know, it's confusing. ½ inch is more likely on this kitchen tap, so I'll show you me measuring it now. Not sure how well you can see that, but I've got the valve, got a ruler, and I'm just going to place it on. I'm measuring from the thread, place it on from the thread, and then put my finger on. You can see here we've got 21 mil, which is a ½ inch thread. Next we need to measure the depth of the valve, and that's from this rubber at the top to the very end. You can see highlighted by that yellow line. I'm just going to measure it, so again from the rubber, you can see that, down to the end I've got 23 mil. Just to measure the stem on the valve, there are different concoctions of this depending on where you buy it from, but we've got the spline, we've got the shaft here, to the plate, and then the entire valve itself. So I'm just going to measure some of these, try and get it on the camera as best as possible. So spline height, I've got 8 mil. Next up is the shaft, which is including the spline, so I'm going to measure that section there, you can see that. And that I've got 19 mil. Next up we've got number 3. What have we got there? So 24 mil. Just recheck the entire valve again. And the final thing, number 5, is to record the number of teeth on the valve spline. You can see that highlighted there. This is key because if you get this wrong, the tap head won't fit. The most common is 20, but there are others. You can see that on the slide, and you've guessed it, it's a case of manually counting it one by one. But one way you can do it is if there's a natural mark on top, or you've placed a little pen mark on top, place your thumbnail in there and then drag it across. So 1, you hear that? 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way around till you get to that mark again. So as you can see, we've ended up with something like this. You can see that we've got the spline 8 mil, shaft 19 mil, to the plate 24 mil, and the full valve is 49. I've got some other specifications there and the number of teeth. So what we'll do is we'll use this and we'll go online and try and find a similar valve. Right, so I'll give you a blank version here if you wanted to take a photo on your phone and use this yourself to help, hopefully. Right, so as you can see, I've just gone on eBay and typed ceramic cartridge. I'll just go to this second website down. I'm not promoting any specific websites, so ignore that bit. But as you can see, they're quite good, these sites, and you don't have to use eBay at determining the specifications. You can see the diagram what I was trying to achieve before, but if you go on here, you can choose the spline height, the distance, and it gives you a code as well. But you can see how these sites are catering for us now, you know, when we're struggling. As you can see from here, some are pricey, some are not, so it's worth weighing up whether it's worth buying a cartridge or actually going buying a new tap. But yeah, feel free to use these sites or others to try and locate the cartridge and get and put an order in. If you found this video useful and you'd like to support the channel, please like and subscribe.